Tell us about what the stadium was like. And then when the injury took place, what happened immediately after?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we got to say that it feels like the Jets won the battle, but they lost the war.
Right.
Right? They lost out on the quarterback that was going to bring them back to prominence, bring them back another Super Bowl. And when you're sitting there on the sideline, feeling that energy from the crowd as he runs out, I've never felt a stadium and a city be so connected to a player without him ever playing a snap. You're talking about 12 years of not making the playoffs, and this was the guy that was going to lead them there. Whether you like Aaron Rodgers or not, it was absolutely heartbreaking for all of that to happen, and him only to get 4 plays as a Jet before his career, or not career, but his season appears to be over.
Well, that's one of the things we'll deal with, is that a 39, soon-to-be 40-year-old quarterback with what we assume is going to be diagnosed shortly as a torn Achilles, does that mean the end of his career? We will find that out, obviously. I don't imagine that's something that would be announced by him or anyone today. But, D. Wood, this injury did end your career.
It did. It did. I just, the crazy thing is I suffered a meniscus injury earlier on in the season. I had the surgery. I fought my way back quickly to get back to playing on the field, and I literally tore my Achilles in a playoff game, and that was the end of my career at that point.
And you just decided, because it was the rehab, right? The work to get back is so difficult and painful.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you talk about 12 years ago, obviously my medicine has really gotten a lot better from that point.
Yeah.
But for me, I went through 2 months of the rehab, and I just said to myself, this is it. I can't come back for a 13th season.
So I know that, and I appreciate all the nice notes and everybody worrying about me, and these guys were all with me last night at the house. And in all honesty, people want to know how I feel. And the truth is, there is no way in the world I have processed this. I understand that millions of things have happened yesterday in the world that in the big picture were more significant than this. But from a sports perspective, this is about as overwhelming as anything that could possibly happen. 6-8 months of anticipation, all the excitement and all the possibilities, and for it to come to an end like that quickly, there's no way I have fully taken in the magnitude of what actually happened on the 4th play last night.
It was incredibly deflating for all of us, because no matter what happens, if they win, fine. If they lose, cool. We talk about them losing, but we thought we were going to get a full season of Aaron Rodgers, ups and downs, and New York being relevant, the Jets being relevant, and in an instant, within the first 4 plays of him being on the field, it's all completely gone, and it's almost made more disappointing by how well the team played without him, because now you're left to think, what could this team have done if they had the quarterback? But when you get to this age, these are the type of things that can pop up.
To lose the starting quarterback, to the emotions that go along with that, and to recover and to beat the team you're chasing, the big bad Buffalo Bills in your division, says a lot about, the whole question was, the Jets think they're good enough that if they plug in Aaron Rodgers, they can be a Super Bowl team. Last night, they looked good enough. They looked like that was true. Unfortunately, they're not going to have him, so the question becomes, how good can they be with Zach Wilson or whatever other alternative they can come up with?
When something like this happens, it is at least my inclination, and I assume it is most people's inclination, to want to be mad at someone. I want to blame someone. And I'm seeing stuff about the turf, and I'm seeing stuff about the offensive line, and I'm seeing stuff about whether they should have had a better plan at backup, and I'm seeing stuff about what they called, and all of that. And look, I want more than anyone to be furious today, but the reality is, sometimes things just happen.
Yeah.
There isn't really anyone to be mad at. Football is inherently a violent and dangerous game. Injuries are going to take place 100% of the time, and you just have to hope that yours is not the team, if you are a fan, whose season is destroyed by an injury. And half the contenders in the league, at minimum, would have their contention taken away if the quarterback goes down. I don't even want to say it out loud by putting these names into because I believe in that stuff. But you know what I'm talking about. Half the teams in the league could not overcome an injury like this. The Jets built absolutely everything in their team and their season, the entire organization shaped around Aaron Rodgers, and he deserved it. From the moment they got him, he has been invested beyond anyone's wildest dreams. It has been better. The emotional roller coaster this creates is the most fascinating, Robert, because when they get him, you're thinking to yourself, okay, this could be unbelievably good. But there's trepidation. We all know that he's a different guy. This could be awful. And then it has been so much better than you even could have allowed yourself to hope. And then last night was so much worse than you even could have possibly imagined. I went into last night thinking, what if they don't look good? What if he doesn't look comfortable? Or what if they get blown out by Buffalo? What if it's like what happened to the Giants? The idea that his season would be over in 4 plays never entered my mind.
Right.
I don't know how you're going to follow that energy. I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying very hard. I said I'm going to try and do the show like normal today, but these are not normal circumstances. A very terrible thing has happened.
Yeah, and your emotion is the emotion of every Jets fan out there.
I'm hot.
Listen.
Go ahead.
Every fan went through a range of emotions last night.
Yes.
It wasn't just that Aaron Rodgers came in and he was a different guy. He was a completely different guy. He was at all the OTAs. He was taking guys under his wing and mentoring them. He actually made Zach Wilson look and feel better to the public because of the way he played in the preseason and played all offseason. So I kind of looked at Aaron Rodgers as like a guardian angel for this Jets organization. He came in and completely changed everything. But it doesn't mean that it's all over now. I think with Aaron Rodgers, the way they built this team, the Jets were a Super Bowl contender. They're no longer going to be anyone's favorite to win the Super Bowl, but the way that defense played and the way they played in all 3 phases of the game, there's still hope for this season. It's just not going to be with the guy that they wanted it to be. And I don't think that Zach Wilson could be any different than a guy like Trent Dilfer or
Brad Johnson, or some other non-Hall of Fame quarterbacks
with great defense.
Let's put numbers to that. You mentioned the chances. Cindy, we could put the Caesars odds on the screen. I saw this on SportsCenter this morning. When we woke up yesterday, the Jets were 18-1 to win the Super Bowl. Whew. We wake up today and they're 35-1. That is, you don't need me to tell you, that is a substantial difference. So Vegas thinks that this is an overwhelmingly significant injury. Dan, I see you checking your phone. I just keep looking over to you.
No, I mean, nothing yet, but I mean, like, to the point about Aaron Rodgers and the offseason, right? Like, what kind of impact can he still have? Can the fact that he's been there all offseason still have? Did he help make Zach Wilson better?
And through training camp, everything was tailor-made for Aaron Rodgers. Every aspect of the offense was his. So now you go out and get hurt in the 4th play of the game. Zach Wilson, you now have to go out there and try to win a game.
Yep.
Right. He actually helped win the game for the Jets. So now moving forward, here's what you got as a coaching staff. You got to tailor-make this offense to his strength.
Yep.
And then also, we talked about Aaron Rodgers being invested all offseason, all those things. He's probably going to be around to help Zach Wilson through this whole transition as well. So, listen, this is Zach Wilson's show. Unless they bring in another quarterback, now we're going to see if this guy's learned anything from Aaron Rodgers this whole offseason.
They got the win last night, and I think that buys them some time. I don't think anyone expected as soon as Aaron Rodgers went down that they were going to get the win. They managed to get the win. It was a tough one. They needed 3 interceptions, a fumble, and a punt return touchdown. Now, you're not going to get that every week. So Zach did play well enough for them to win last night, but he's going to have to play a lot better going forward. They're going to prepare the offense, prepare the team in a way for Zach that he's more comfortable with, and that could be encouraging. But one thing that's not going to change, with Aaron Rodgers, this schedule looked really hard. Without Aaron Rodgers, you know who they're going to see next week. I'm sorry, Greeny. I don't mean to bring you back down, but they got to see.
Let's show everybody what it is. All right, so we have talked many times about the gauntlet that were the first 6 games of the Jets season. I've been saying over and over again, they could make it out of 2 and 4 if they got to 3 and 3 out of these games. And we've added now one more to the Giants. That would actually be the 7th game. The first 6 ends at Eagles because they won the first one. If they can find 2 more wins, and you would circle, look, I mean, maybe home Patriots at Broncos, which is going to be a revenge game after the comments that were made about Nathaniel Hackett. If they win those 2 games, you come out of the first 6 at 3 and 3. That, I had said before, was the formula for them to win the division and have an excellent chance to make a deep playoff run. The problem is that was factoring in having a Hall of Fame quarterback and not a young player that, let's face it, they clearly were afraid to let do anything last night. And there was good reason for that. And a player that the entire locker room had obviously lost all faith and confidence in a year ago. Now, to RG3's point, I think Aaron Rodgers went a long way towards rehabilitating that. I think the plan may even have been that 3 years from now, maybe they could hand the reins over to Zach Wilson, but not 5 days from now when they go to Dallas to take them on. Look, you've been there, and I just want to get one more thought on this, because you've been around them. We saw you on Hard Knocks talking with Robert Saleh about your 7 kids and his 7 kids. All of that, which was seemed a lot more adorable at the time than it feels right now. But the degree to which you felt what Aaron Rodgers had done there, you know what that building is like. You know what that organization is like. You were there when Brett Favre came a generation ago. How would you describe the impact that the aura and the presence of Aaron Rodgers had just upon his arrival and what he's done this summer?
Same way I felt when Brett Favre got hurt. I vividly remember, like, we went down to Tennessee and we beat the undefeated Tennessee Titans at the time. That week in practice, Brett Favre injures his arm, and it was devastating. Like, we knew at that time, we're done. We're done. Now, I don't think those guys in the locker room feel that way. Especially you go out there and you play a whole game and you beat Buffalo. You beat Buffalo. So, I think Robert Saleh has done a great job of, coaching these guys up and having these guys believing. But I'm just saying, as a player in the locker room, when you've been all in with Aaron Rodgers and you know the confidence that you have as an organization, that, we got a guy that can go toe-to-toe, dog for dog at the quarterback position.
Correct.
And now you got to go against all these different quarterbacks with Zach Wilson. From a psychological standpoint, it's going to be a big hurdle.
I don't know that I've ever seen a team so buy in on a player as we've seen the Jets. And maybe it's because we saw Hard Knocks and we saw behind the scenes, but you saw the way Robert Saleh was giddy just to put him into a preseason game. You heard the way the defensive coordinator told them in the first Hard Knocks episode that as long as we got this guy, we got a chance. It's like everybody in that building. Woody Johnson went and spent all his money on it. Well, not all his money, a small portion of his money on a chain, just a little smidgen of his couch cushion money on a chain, because everyone is so excited about this because Aaron Rodgers is there. To have him gone, it's going to be a real test on the character, the sports character of this team.
I agree. The one thing that really stood out to me last night was Garrett Wilson when he was talking after the game. He said, Zach Wilson rallied us at halftime. So I know there's been a lot of conversation about Zach in last year, but that rehabilitation that Aaron Rodgers has done for him has paid dividends, because in the moment when they needed him to step up the most, Damien, he did. He rallied the troops, and he did play well enough for them to win, but it is going to take a Herculean type effort for them to continue to win with Zach Wilson at quarterback. If he plays the way he played last night, I personally think he'll play better.
Every fan of the New York Jets was not remembering Brett Favre last night. They were remembering Vinny Testaverde. In 1999, the Jets were coming off a team that had been in the AFC Championship game and had the lead at halftime in Denver a year ago. And in the first half of the first game of the season, with Bill Parcells as the coach, the Jets, who I genuinely believe were the best team in the league in that moment, there was a fumble. Vinny Testaverde just went to try and grab it, and untouched, he tore his Achilles. And that was the game you may remember. Keyshawn Johnson, then the star receiver of the Jets, crying at the podium in disbelief because it was so obviously over. That was why I didn't immediately think it was that injury, because Testaverde couldn't even walk. Rodgers didn't look nearly as hurt.
That was my first pro game, professional game, my rookie year. Played with the Patriots. I remember that game vividly.
Yeah, me too. Wow. Okay, we have a lot to do this morning. Obviously, we'll be on this. The moment there is news, you will get it. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.